I can hear my dog outside wagging his tail.
Every Zoom has a dog.
He wants to get in so bad.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the second part of the first night of the fourth week of the League of Women Voters of St. Lucie County's 2020 Election Candidate Forum Series. We're so glad that you're with us this evening, and we're excited to have our candidates and be able to present them to you. So I'm Andy Poley. I'm the current president of the League of Women Voters in this county, and I just have a couple of quick little announcements. If you have already requested your mail-in ballot, you've probably already received it. They went out on September 25th. There are secure drop boxes throughout the county in which you can drop it if you do not want to use the post office. Just check with the supervisor of elections office to find out where those boxes are. You can still request a mail-in ballot if you would like to vote that way. You have until October 24th to do so. Early voting starts October 19th. There are 5 locations, the same 5 locations that were available to all St. Lucie County voters throughout the county during the primary election. Any St. Lucie County voter can vote in any one of the early voting locations. Doesn't matter if you live next door to it or not. Election day itself is November 3rd. If you choose to vote on election day, you must vote at your assigned polling place. Check with the supervisor's office to find out where that is if you don't already know. So tonight we have candidate forums. We've had one already, and this is our second one, and it's super exciting. We have the candidates for state representative in District 84. The candidate forum for tonight is the same as all of our other candidate forums. It's a 90-second intro from each candidate, followed by a series of questions. The candidates will have 2 minutes to answer each of the questions. They'll rotate back and forth. If we have a little bit of time from our Facebook viewers, if you post questions, we'll present them on your behalf, and then we'll move on to closing statements. The candidates have 2 minutes for each one of those. This is a forum. This is not a debate, so candidates will not invoke one another. They will make their statements, answer their questions, and then we will either just move on to the next question or candidates. Let me think, is there anything else I want to say? Candidates will be alerted at 30 seconds remaining in their time, and again, when their time is expired. And we did determine the rotation previously, before this Facebook Live feed started, by coin toss. So tonight, as always, is our wonderful moderator, Carol Wyatt. Carol is the co-owner and operator of radio stations WPSL in Port St. Lucie, WSTU in Stewart, and WJNX in Fort Pierce. She is the president of the WPSL Christmas Kids of St. Lucie County, the past president of the Rotary Club of Port St. Lucie, and a current member of the Port St. Lucie Businesswomen. She has many years in broadcasting, including as a reporter in Los Angeles prior to moving here to Florida in 1993. We are, as always, incredibly honored to have her as our moderator. And so now I'm going to kick it over to Carol.
Well, thank you, Andy, and welcome to the League of Women Voters of St. Lucie County Candidate Forum. We certainly thank the members of the League for developing all the questions for this evening. We thank our candidates for participating, and we thank you for listening, for watching, for informing yourselves about this general election. Tonight, Florida State House District 84. It is for a term of 2 years, representing a district that includes roughly the northern half of Port St. Lucie up through Fort Pierce. The candidates, the incumbent, Delores Hogan Johnson, and challenger, Dana Trabulsy. Now, with our coin toss ahead of time, we've determined that Delores Hogan Johnson will go first with opening statements. Ms. Johnson.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wyatt, and I appreciate totally the League of Women Voters and the forum they've presented and the work that they do. Again, I am Delores Hogan Johnson. I was born and raised in St. Lucie County, was a military brat for a few years, living with my oldest sister and brother-in-law in Kansas and Texas, and came back home when I was in 10th grade and finished at Lincoln Park Academy, second in my class. Went on to college, Fisk University, Nashville, Tennessee. I got my master's degree at the University of Central Florida, Orlando. Was very proud to be employed by the St. Lucie County school system for over 32 years, about 33. So I've been a counselor, guidance counselor, dean of students, school social worker, and over an after school program. called 21st Century, that we involved all of the community in that after school. So it's been a pleasure. I worked with the Housing Authority and just segments of our community from all walks of life. So it's been a pleasure being a public servant, and I honor that privilege. And I thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. An opening statement, Dana Trabulsy.
Good evening. Thanks for having me for the second interview of the first night of the fourth week of forums. I hope I got that right. It's nice to see you, Andy and Carol. Hope I get to see you in person soon, and congratulations to celebrating the 100th year of the 19th Amendment. And thank you to the League of Women Voters for doing this forum this evening and for the last 4 weeks. So a little bit about myself. I am originally from a small town just south of Atlanta, Georgia. I came to Florida on vacation in the mid-'80s, and I loved it so much that I went home, packed everything, and came back a week later, much to my mother's dismay. And it was probably one of the best decisions I ever made, because I really love Florida and I love calling St. Lucie County home. I have called St. Lucie County home for almost 30 years. My husband, Paul, and I have 4 children as a blended family and 4 grandchildren. I've dedicated much of my career to supporting many local nonprofits, such as United Against Poverty, 211, Boys and Girls Club of St. Lucie County, and several more. I'm a small business owner. I believe that small businesses are the heartbeat of our community. I'm running as a fiscal conservative, and I plan to bring common sense leadership to Tallahassee, and look forward to this forum this evening. Thank you.
Okay, we'll begin our questions. We'll start off with Delores Hogan Johnson, and then after that we will rotate who starts first. But Ms. Johnson, both political parties have expressed a concern for the impact of the presidential election on the down ballot races. It's not a new phenomenon, but this election is not like other elections. So in this hyper-partisan environment, regardless of your position, how do you convince voters to cross party lines and vote for you?
Thank you for that question. I have spent my life serving the citizens of St. Lucie County in so many capacities. And I have a heart for the people, for the county, for their safety, for their well-being. My interest in the environment, in health activities, and what's best for the citizens here. As a school social worker and a social worker with St. Lucie, the Fort Pierce Housing Authority, I've been involved with people's health. I was a health advocate for several people. My background, part of my training has been in health education also. So to make sure that the education that we give our students are important. I've built good relationships across the board during the 2 years I was in Tallahassee. And I look forward, I have worked with the other party also. I am respected by them and listen to, unfortunately, things get along party lines that unfortunately to the detriment of the well-being of our state. But I do plan to push for Medicaid expansion. Because at one point when I started in 2018, there were over 800 and some odd citizens without health care coverage. But because of COVID and people being laid off, they can no longer have that. So we're at 1.2 or 1.3 million. So our people need health coverage, and they need all of the amenities or rights that citizens ought to have. And I'll listen to them and fight for them.
Okay, thank you. Same question to Dana Trabulsy. In this hyper-partisan environment, how to get people to vote for you?
Thank you for that question, Carol. Yes, it is a hyper-partisan election and season, and it's actually been a great journey, because I've enjoyed getting out and talking to voters and listening to what's important to them. And what I'm hearing is they need someone that is present in office. They want to know who their representative is, and they want to have real conversations. And that's just what I'm doing every day. You know, in St. Lucie County, we have 1,400 homeless students. We have no homeless shelter. We have no transitional living. Fortunately, we have endorsed the teacher pay raise so that we're able to bring more qualified teachers into St. Lucie County and also keep the wonderful teachers that we have. But I would say that the biggest asset that we can have is having a personal relationship with our constituents and meeting them face to face, meeting them where they are, learning the space that they are in, and assuring them that they are going to be served to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Okay, next question begins with Mr. Trabulsy. Florida Home Rule allows local governments to pass ordinances and regulations that are appropriate for their specific location and citizens. Home Rule is often preempted by state legislation in regards to sanctuary cities, plastics, firearms, environmental protections, and education. What is your position on Florida Home Rule and why?
I think Florida Home Rule is very important. I believe that we can pretty much divide that up separately, though. There are certain instances where, you know, we have to have overall state control and overall a state overview, but every area of Florida is different. So the Panhandle is different from the Treasure Coast, which is different than Fort Myers. And so with each unique area and the different circumstances that it brings, I believe that home rule is the best rule. So I think that we need to see as legislators what works best for the overall state, and then we need to give control over each county and municipality. Thank you.
Same question to Ms. Johnson. What is your position on Florida Home Rule and why?
I strongly support home rule. I've had to speak out in our legislative sessions, encouraging my friends across the aisle to support home rule. It's important because all of us cannot be in Tallahassee. All of us cannot know as representatives all the things that each individual municipality needs. So we must respect it. And I will continue to push for that. And also by the same token, I tell groups in our particular municipality group here, the Florida League of Cities, and all other entities, as speak corporately as your organization together, and respectfully demand that your views be held, be respected, and work closely with the legislators, as the legislators need to work closely with our municipalities, because we don't have, neither group has all the answers, but we must work together and must respect one another's positions as governmental agencies. So I strongly support it.
Okay, next question begins with Ms. Johnson. The population of Florida continues to grow at a rapid pace. The number of second home purchases is also on the rise. These changes have significant impacts on the state's infrastructure. How will you work to improve and expand infrastructure while maintaining Florida's environment and beauty?
I think it's important to work with the local entities, the cities and counties, along with the legislative or the state of Florida entities that look at this, DEP, the builders associations. Everybody should be involved in this because Florida is such a fragile state. Our aquifers are so close to the surface. We have a beautiful state, but a fragile state. And I want all of us to understand. We welcome folk every day, but we've got to make sure that they understand the state that they're calling home or will call home. We passed legislation last time, and I fully supported it, looking at coastal resiliency. And we're having to deal with now, you know, as we, you know, put projects out, building, construction, we've got to look more closely. And I'm so pleased that counties, the state, they're looking at the impact of our infrastructure and new construction. We've got to work together on this because again, we live in a very fragile state, and the septic to sewer things must be looked at more very carefully and more stringently. That, you know, we expand, but very carefully in our projects. So I look forward to continuing that work, and I'm just so proud that the legislature is becoming more and more sensitive.
Okay, same question to Mr. Trabulsy. How would you work to improve and expand infrastructure while maintaining environment and beauty?
Thank you, Carol. So 1,000 people a day are moving into Florida, and we can see why, because we live here and it is beautiful, and why wouldn't anyone want to live, work, play, and retire in Florida? But we need to do that responsibly, and we need to do that with controlled growth. And I think one major component of that is taking care of our farmers and our ranchers. And that's a huge thing that we may not always think of. First of all, Florida produces 7 of the 10 major crops in the United States. So farmers and ranchers are vital to our United States, vital to our food chain. But that land is also generational land, and we need to make it easier for our farmers and ranchers to do business. We need to make it more delightful for them to be able to want to keep their land generationally. And by doing this, we don't want them to sell their land off for profit in chunks that are too large, that are going to bring in uncontrolled growth. So I truly believe for our state that a huge stopgap for overgrowth or growth that is too quick, that will help control our infrastructure and maintain it, is to take care of the people who take care of our land. Thank you.
Okay, next question to Dana Trabulsy. The Indian River Lagoon is one of the most important and delicate estuaries in the nation. Decades of uninformed policies and development have negatively impacted the water quality and the ecosystem. What will you do to protect and improve the Indian River Lagoon now and for the future?
Thank you, Carol. I think it's more than just the Indian River Lagoon. It's about our whole environment. Water is such a precious resource to us. Through the Central Water Initiative and other conservation efforts, we have to prioritize water conservation. This is a resource we cannot afford to waste. Unfortunately, our flood control system has a tendency to do just that. So each and every canal leads directly to our nearest water body and eventually the Gulf or Atlantic. In addition to wasting water, our flood control system transports pollutants such as nitrogen and phosphorus, which feed algae blooms. These are devastating to the environment and economy. We must stop pollution at the source, which means upgrading our sewage infrastructure statewide. We need to get the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services the tools they need to enroll and support the Best Management Practices program. And we must improve our stormwater retention. This will allow water to be slowed down and filtered. Collectively, all of this will improve our water quality, but as I mentioned in the beginning, it's not just our water, it's our environment. And we need to fund land conservation programs such as the Florida Wildlife Corridor, rural and family lands, and conservation easements so that there are always places for Florida wildlife to thrive. Thank you.
Okay, same question to Delores Johnson. What will you do to protect and improve the Indian River Lagoon now and for the future?
Thank you. Working more closely with each of the counties and educating the public to the value of the most biodiverse estuary in North America, and the best practices in dealing with the septic to sewer programs. It's critically important. We heard a couple of weeks ago that, you know, with St. Lucie County, by the way, the estuary runs from Ponce Inlet, it's 156 miles down to Jupiter, and various areas have had problems over the years. So we must educate the public continually, getting that working relationship and in continuing to improve upon it with the water management districts, especially South Florida. Drew Bartlett, who was an excellent member of DEP at one time, he's now the executive director there, and he is so easy to work with, and utilizing the people who know the best practices and are just very good at working with the public and helping us to educate. I mentioned started to say a couple of weeks ago, and they put, you know, I guess they looked at our barrier island as a place with mosquitoes and nobody would live there. But they put the sewer system in the middle, not in the middle of the estuary. So pushing and getting grants to move that septic, that sewer system inland. So that's something that's moving onward, and very supportive of that move because we had a spill.
Okay, next question to Delores Hogan Johnson. What is your position on sensible gun laws, and what kind of gun legislation would you support?
Sensible gun laws. I support the Second Amendment first and foremost, a citizen's right to carry arms. But I also I'm concerned about people who have a way to get guns. So I think that all reasonable steps should be taken to make sure that people who apply for guns permits are able and capable to follow the laws. I do not support the guns that have all this magazine capacity to kill folk. And I would support and look at legislation, continue to support legislation that makes sure that the public is safe and the gun owners are safe also. But I strongly support the Second Amendment right to bear arms.
Okay, same question to Dana Trabulsy. What is your position on sensible gun laws? What kind of gun legislation would you support?
Thank you, Carol. I'll make this answer very brief. I believe and support our Second Amendment rights. Thank you.
Okay, next question to Mr. Trabulsy. In your opinion, what state policy changes would be most effective in job creation and why?
In job creation, I believe the most effective, can you repeat that? I'm sorry, I just lost sound for just a second.
Okay, in your opinion, what state policy changes would be most effective in job creation and why?
So I am a small business owner, and as a small business owner, I find it sometimes can be cumbersome for myself and for other small businesses with some of the red tape that it takes to open and maintain a small business. So we have over 1 million words of regulations on the books right now. And I would say that for every regulation that we bring in, we should take 2 out because we are just inundated with regulations that make it harder to start a small business and to be an entrepreneur. So removing red tape and making it easier for people to do business would be my biggest task. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Johnson, in your opinion, what state policy changes would be most effective in job creation and why?
With job creations, I truly feel that vocational schools should be encouraged. Our colleges and universities, especially those who are now state colleges, were community colleges, but that they work closely in training our students and those who are in jobs that have no real future, that we make sure that vocational training, I think coalitions with job training, with unions, all of those should be working together to create the workforce that is needed in these changing times. So with schools, vocational schools, trade unions, all of that The college is getting ready to break ground soon for their manufacturing center. So I look forward to that coming to fruition so that we can train our people for the technology or technologically needed jobs for the future, but making sure the state and the county and cities work together.
Ms. Johnson, you touched on this earlier in the next question. Florida has one of the highest rates of uninsured adults in the country. This statistic has only been exacerbated by the record levels of unemployment caused by COVID-19. Would you support Medicaid expansion to cover more citizens? If not, what would you propose as a solution?
First of all, I would definitely support Medicaid expansion. As I stated before, back in 2018, you know, the number was about 800,000 when people would use, and probably still do, use the emergency room for their medical care. I feel that what has happened over the last 8 to 10 years is that they've sent the money that was allocated to Florida to other states. And that's insane to me. And that shows that there is not care really for the citizens of St. Lucie County. And again, COVID-19 has exacerbated that need and made it very clear, because the numbers have swollen to over 1 million and some odd people in need of this. I think it's part of our healthcare system with our health departments that they can partner with other agencies to help people. As I said before, I'm a health educator also, that people need to know what it takes to be healthy, to eat healthy. And with our food sources, with Treasure Coast Food Bank, the Up Center, all of these agencies coming together to educate our people. I'm a 2-time breast cancer survivor, so I've learned, and I would tell people the body can heal itself if we give it what it needs. So we must be careful in making sure that we're educated, but the state of Florida needs definitely to expand Medicaid.
Okay, same question to Dana Trabulsy. Would you support Medicaid expansion to cover more citizens? And if not, what would you propose as a solution?
Thank you, Carol. So can you just repeat that one more time? I'm sorry.
Let's start from the beginning. Florida has one of the highest rates of uninsured adults in the country. Its statistics only been exacerbated by the record levels of unemployment caused by COVID-19. Would you support Medicaid expansion to cover more citizens? And if not, what would you propose as a solution?
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So I believe that our healthcare system is broken altogether. I think that we have quite a bit of work to do overall, and I don't think that it just encompasses the state of Florida. I think that it encompasses our entire nation, and we need to look at it collectively. I think that we need to work across party lines with this particular display, because you know, we do have a lot of people that have been affected by COVID, by pre-existing illness. We have people that, you know, just like Representative Hogan Johnson said, we want to promote a healthy lifestyle. We want to promote healthy living. We want to promote preventative care and pre-existing illness. So there are a lot of issues on the table, and I think we have to look at it like an elephant, like if we're going to eat an elephant, and we have to do it one bite at a time. So I don't think it's as easy as asking the question of, do we expand Medicare? I think that we have to take each facet of our medical system and our insurance system and look at it separately and try to digest it as a whole and come together across the aisles to come up with a solution that is going to work for our entire population. Thank you.
Okay, next question coming to Mr. Trabulsy. In the rollout of 5G networks, state and local governments have been preempted by federal agencies in regard to antenna placement. These antennae may have detrimental effects on citizens and wildlife, as well as interfere with other communication systems, according to NASA and NOAA. Will you support a state effort to delay 5G rollout until state and local input is provided?
5G is boy, as we get more technologically deep in our world, it seems like we are always just adding to, it's 4G, it's 5G. What is it going to be next? I do believe that we need to support, clean air, clean water, clean environment, and we need to really be thoughtful and probably do more research on what 5G is going to do to our wildlife, to the people in our surrounding areas. And I think that more studies need to be done. I would prefer that we not just pop them up for convenience sake and because we want to get the fastest internet. Boy, I remember when we still had dial-up and I was happy with that. So to think of something being 5G is almost incomprehensible to think that we're moving at the speed of light. But I think we need to put more thought into it and really research it more and see how it's going to affect us in the future. As you can see, we have cancer clusters in our area that we need to address, and we don't know how those came about, and we need to be more diligent about what we put into our environment. Thank you.
Okay, same question to Ms. Johnson. Would you support a state effort to delay 5G rollout?
Yes, I would. In fact, and I appreciate Ms. Trabulsy talking about the different clusters and the fact that even the power lines and all of this is coming into play. So I want us to depend on the science, the research, and as you said, NOAA and the other scientific entities. We've got to be careful about this as we approach this technology that's coming about constantly, because companies want to outdo one another. But the state, with all due diligence, be sure to study this very, very carefully, because our health depends on it. And it affects people in different ways, even the phone towers, cell phone towers that we have right now. And I've heard pro and con, about 5G and the companies who are taking it on and spreading the word about it. But we must be careful. And I definitely support the state making sure that we have the best science before we make decisions.
Okay, next question to Ms. Johnson. During the last regular session, the Florida House passed a bill that will allow parents to opt their children out of learning certain parts of the curriculum based on religious beliefs and morality. This includes sex education, evolution, events of World War II, and other topics not supported by religious teachings. Do you support this bill? Why or why not?
We had a lot of discussion about that, and we will continue. I don't quite remember my vote on it, but I do support a parent's right to make decisions regarding the child's education and what they're exposed to. And that's one of the reasons, school boards and schools have to have policies and get that written permission from parents regarding things that are to be taught to our children. Things such as history, world wars, what have you. I have concerns that I want a child to be fully educated in what history is about and how it impacts how we treat each other, and that we're all Americans. So I would not want history, and it's been proven there are certain parts of the country that produce certain histories in history books that are not quite the whole truth. So, but as far as sex education, those things that parents should be involved with solely, they have opt-out options, and I totally support that.
Okay, same question, Ms. Trabulsy. Would you support the opt-out bill? Why or why not?
Yes, thank you. So yes, I would support the opt-out bill. I will always support a parent's right to make a choice for their child in education. And that's not just in the education of particular subjects, but that's also in education in general. So I believe that school choice is vital to our school system. I believe it's vital to our children. And it's vital to our community, because what parent wouldn't want to make the best choice for their child? And that could be a public school system, that could be charter schools, which essentially are public schools, that could be our voucher systems. Now we're doing online learning. All of these are choices. So when it comes to a parental's right, I believe we always lean in favor of the parents and their ability to make a choice for their child. Thank you.
Okay, next question, back to Mr. Trabulsy. In 2018, the citizens of Florida passed Amendment 4, allowing people convicted of certain felonies to register to vote after meeting sentencing guidelines. To date, this amendment has not been fully implemented due to obstructive actions by elected and appointed officials. What will you do to ensure that this and all future amendments passed by the voters are implemented swiftly and accurately?
Well, thank you for that question. And I do not know why that particular amendment has not been followed through swiftly, or other amendments. I think that as a legislator and someone in office, we need to look at the bills that are passed and what the voters vote on and find out the nuances of each and every one of them. I think Representative Johnson can probably attest to the fact that it's not just 3 or 4 words on a bill that make a bill. It's, it's a lot of words and a lot of pages and a lot of nuances.
Right.
So what we read as consumers, if you will, when we're checking the ballot box, is not the 15-page document that a representative may be reading. So there's probably a little more to that, and we probably need to dig a little deeper and find out what that is and answer those questions based on each particular amendment. Thank you.
Okay, same question, Ms. Johnson. What will you do to ensure that Amendment 4 and all future amendments passed by the voters are implemented swiftly and accurately?
Thank you so much. I remembered we were in session till almost 2 o'clock on discussing that particular amendment. In essence, it basically stated, if an inmate has served his probation, paid the fines, and served their time, they would be free to register to vote. They had discussed this in our debates on the floor over 6 years ago, what would happen. There has appeared to be a breakdown with the prison system and the clerks of the court, because that communication should be that this inmate has a restitution portion, and the clerk of court should be made aware of that. So there should be more cooperation between the Department of Correction and the clerk of court. It's not the clerk of court's fault, but they should be given that information so that when an inmate or a former or returning, I should say, returning citizen comes forth, that they've paid their restitution, they've finished their sentencing, they've finished their probation, they should be free. This was debated and talked about 6 years prior. And one of the things that came up was that we're going to make this vote a super majority. And the citizens of Florida said by over 60, almost 65%, that we want this to happen. So I will continue to fight and remind them that we are representatives of the people, and we may need to make sure that all things are followed correctly.
Okay, thank you. We, I believe, have a question from our Facebook audience, so we'll come back with Ms. Johnson. What is your position on criminal justice reform? It
is truly, truly needed. And that's something I pray for daily, the true criminal justice reform, that those in authority know. And I put in the righteous difference. One of my constituents said there is a difference between justice and vengeance. And I think that the equal justice under the law needs to be honored. Everyone should adhere to it. Judges should adhere to it. We recently had a case not too long ago, it got on Facebook and everything, that these two young people had the same or very similar charges. And one got basically a slap on the wrist and the other got over a year in prison or jail. This kind of thing should not happen. So we do need criminal justice reform starting with sheriffs, prosecutors. The 19th Judicial District has one of the stiffest and most stringent guidelines in sentencing around the judicial districts in the state of Florida. So that needs to be addressed also. It is not fair. We need true criminal justice reform. If you break a law, you do the time, and make sure, folk understand that. But let's be fair about it. Equal justice under the law.
Okay, same question to Mr. Trabulsy. Your position on criminal justice reform.
Thank you, Carol. So with criminal justice reform, again, that's multifaceted, but I will agree with Representative Johnson that I do believe that there should be equal time for equal crimes, if you will. So I do believe that that should be fair across the board. But I also believe that we need to take that a step further, and we need to think about the people that we've incarcerated and what we do moving forward. So what that means to me is, let's talk about transitional living, perhaps. Maybe when someone gets out of prison and they're told to come back for a first probation officer meeting in a week, find a place to live. But they have no family to go to, they have no job, and they have no resources. What I believe is we probably need some type of either mental health court, transitional living for them, something that's going to help tee them up for success so that they're not repeat offenders. So yes, I do believe that just because somebody commits one crime doesn't mean they're going to do a lifetime of crime. But I also believe that as true public servants and people of this world and people of God, that we need to then take care of these people when they get out of prison to help them to with their next step in life so that they don't become repeat offenders.
Okay, thank you. I think we have one more question from our Facebook audience, and this will come back to Mr. Trabulsy. What are your feelings regarding the Black Lives Matter movement and the civil unrest Americans are experiencing nationally?
Wow, it's been a tough year, Carol. COVID has kept us locked up, and it's put a lot of fear into us, and it's really closed off our communication and brought about a lot of unrest in our world. And in the United States, there's just been an undercurrent, if you will, that's really scary. And if you're going to ask me if Black Lives Matter, of course Black Lives Matter. I think I don't want it to sound flip that all lives matter, but they really do. Do I think that there is implicit bias in our community and in our country and in our world? I do. I think that we do have implicit bias. We are biased to the culture that we grew up in and what we're exposed to and the spaces that we are present in, and we don't often know what somebody else's space feels like. So I think as human beings, we could all probably do a better job of standing on the other side of the fence and looking over to treat each other with compassion and know that we all came from somewhere with something, and treat each other with kindness and respect. Thank you.
Okay, same question. We'll go to Delores Hogan Johnson. What are your feelings regarding Black Lives Matter and the civil unrest?
The civil unrest dismays me greatly. Black lives do matter, as all lives matter. That's a given for me. And I think, speaking of COVID, it has given, with the lockdown that we've all been through, it's provided an opportunity for us to pay attention and to know and to understand, to hear what other people, what Black lives have been like over history. Unfortunately, there has been some communication, implicit or otherwise, regarding the uprising of hate groups. And my heart is saddened by that. We must understand where each other comes from and respect the lives of one another. We are Americans, bottom line, and we are citizens of this world. And we must do everything in our power as leaders to help foment the idea of we're in this together. This is all of ours. And we must work together if we're to survive in these United States and in this world. To do leadership must be very, very aware and do everything in our power to make sure that people understand that we must love and respect one another. So I just encourage working together, and thank you for the opportunity to answer that.
Well, thank you both for answering the questions, not only from the League, but from the Facebook audience. So we're at the point of the closing statements, and we'll start with Delores Hogan Johnson.
Thank you so much. I have truly enjoyed being the representative of the citizens of District 84, the citizens of St. Lucie County, and the citizens of Florida. I always try to be open and present, just with the least things that people ask of me. I try to be able to help them with it. I was honored to be chosen, to be elected, to be your representative, and I look forward to continuing to serve you. I encourage people to come and talk, call, email, let your feelings be known, because I've often said this government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. That means it's all of ours. And you just elect us to represent you, because we all cannot go up to the legislature. But we must be honest and caring for each citizen, whatever party or non-affiliation they are. I love my citizens here, and I love my constituents. I love this county. I was born and raised here, and I'm proud to be from St. Lucie County. And I pray and I ask that you send me back to the Florida legislature. November 3rd is my birthday, and I'd love that gift. Thank you.
Quite a birthday. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Closing statement, Dana Trabulsy.
Okay, well, Representative Johnson and I have never met formally, so happy birthday early.
Thank you.
Only 21 days to go. I know you're counting down days to your birthday,
Yes.
too. I really appreciate this opportunity tonight. It's been really enlightening on a lot of levels. I think you can see that Ms. Johnson and I, have a lot of the same core values, and I think that's important. We're both citizens of St. Lucie County. We both care deeply about this community. I have said to most of the people that I talk to that God has been threaded through this entire experience for me. And every single day when I am talking to people and coming across, different people that I'm asking to vote for me, they're telling me what their needs are. And I continue to feel the drive and the force to be able to go to Tallahassee and represent our community 100% all the time, from my heart and also from my experience, to bring back to St. Lucie County the resources that we need to come together as a St. Lucie County delegation strong, and really make all the wheels turn for us to work on our water issues, our educational issues, to work for our teachers and to work for our children. My passion is here, my family is here. This is gonna be the last place that I take a breath unless I'm on vacation. So I truly want to leave this place, St. Lucie County, District 84, where my family is, better than I got it. And I would ask on November 3rd, Delores' birthday, that you vote for me, Dana Trabulsy, because I do feel like I am the best candidate for District House 84. Thank you.
Hey, thank you both for being part of this forum. Certainly thank you for participating, Delores Hogan Johnson and Dana Trabulsy. And thank you for all the listeners and people who've watched the forum, who have educated yourself about the issues. And certainly we thank the members of the League for developing all the questions. So we have to remember all the voting options, the early voting, and of course, November 3rd. And Andy will fill us in with more on that.
Thank you, Carol, and thank you, candidates. Thank you, viewers, for a nice, lively discussion and contributing your own questions. The League of Women Voters works for the voters. That's who we're here for. So we're so happy when you participate in this process. Yes, early voting is right around the corner. It starts on October 19th. And you can still request a mail-in ballot if you would prefer to do that. We just simply ask that you make a plan to vote and make it a priority. Just vote. We don't care when and we don't care how, we just want it done. So please vote on November 3rd, October 19th, October 28th. Do it on Halloween if you dare, in your costume. It would be awesome. Other than that, I want to thank the actual members of the League of Women Voters who worked so very hard to come up with the questions that you heard this evening. They're very well informed and they are diligent in their research to come up with those questions for you. They, of course, just want you to be the most educated you can be. You can learn about the 6 amendments on your ballot. Yes, you all have 6 amendments on your ballot, and you can learn about them from us. Just follow us on Facebook. We do free virtual meetings where you can hear about them in a nonpartisan, fact-based way. And Alexa's going to remind me what time it is. I apologize in the background. So now I've lost my train of thought, but I'll get it back. Tomorrow night, we'll be back at 7 p.m. to do this once again with your U.S. representatives for Congressional District 18. So please join us again on Facebook Live at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. It is the last, that's right, week 4, night 2, last one tomorrow night. We hope to see you there. Thank you, and don't forget to vote.